Donna Adelson, the convicted mastermind of the murder for hire of her ex-son-in-law, Dan Markell, was sentenced to life in prison for her crime. And new tonight, video of Donna as she's being transported to court to be sentenced. What is she mumbling to herself as she prepares for her judgment day? Tonight, we will show you the video. Meanwhile, Terence Crosbie, a firefighter from Dublin, came to Boston to be part of the St. Patrick's Day parade, but instead raped a woman in his hotel room. You watched his trial on court TV, his accuser describing a horrifying night in that hotel when she says she was attacked by a man after having consensual relations with his hotel roommate who was sleeping next to her. It took 2 trials to convict Crosbie, and today was his sentencing. We'll show you all the big moments as this Irish firefighter learns his fate. But first, it was a January morning in Newport News, Virginia, when first-grade teacher Abigail Zwerner was shot in her classroom. The gun fired by her 6-year-old student. The bullet tore through her hand and chest, leaving her fighting for her life and a nation stunned. Now Zwerner is suing the assistant principal, Ebony Parker, claiming she ignored multiple warnings that the child had a gun that day. Today, Abigail took the stand and faced some uncomfortable cross-examination as the defense looked like they were blaming the gunshot victim for what happened. Did they cross the line? Tonight, we break it all down. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. We have a lot to get to in this hour, but we'll begin with what a dramatic day. We're talking about probably one of the most unusual school shootings we've ever covered here at Court TV. And unfortunately, we've covered a lot of school shootings. This one, a 6-year-old, is the one who had the gun. He brought it from home. He took it out, and he ended up shooting, but not killing, shooting his teacher, Abigail. Now, after the shooting, you look at the case, you say, okay, the shooter's 6 years old. We're not going to prosecute a 6-year-old, right? That's really young. So 2 years in prison for the 6-year-old's mom for allowing this to happen. Her gun, her son, her negligence. So she ended up getting sentenced to 2 years in state prison for all of this. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else being criminally charged here? Yes, the assistant principal, Ebony Parker, for her role for not taking action, having been told that there's a 6-year-old, allegedly, right? Told there's a 6-year-old with a gun and doing nothing about it. And then that 6-year-old ends up shooting one of the teachers. Now, Ebony Parker is also being civilly sued. And that's the case you're watching on Court TV right now. Very unusual to have the civil trial before the criminal trial. It's usually the other way around. But in this case, her civil trial is going first. That's what you're watching here. And Abigail Zwerner, the victim in this, the teacher who got shot, today getting attacked on cross-examination. Now, I'm going to show it to you in just a second. But remember all the circumstances here. This is a teacher who gets shot, could have been killed. And the attorney for the assistant principal apparently going after her. And the question I really have as we take a look at this, did they cross the line here in attacking the victim of this shooting? Let's take a listen.
And you learned from Ms. Kovac that 2 of your students said JT had a gun in his backpack.
I don't remember if Ms. Kovac told me who. She did not tell me which student. But yes, Ms. Kovac did tell me that students told her that the student brought a gun with him to school.
Did you ask Ms. Kovac who the 2 students were who had reported this?
I don't remember if I did or not.
Did you take measures to speak with the 2 students who had reported this?
No, I knew that Ms. Kovac spoke to them.
And you did. They were students in your class?
Yes.
And you didn't feel the need to speak to them yourself.
I knew Ms. Kovac had spoken to them, and I trusted Mrs. Kovac.
But you don't know what Ms. Kovac said to those students, do you? Or if she said anything to the students.
I trusted Ms. Kovac. She has 20, 30 years of teaching experience over my 2.5 years.
So Ms. Kovac stayed in your room for a while, didn't she?
Yes.
About 30 minutes.
Yes.
And she spoke to JT about what the student said. Right?
I don't recall specifically.
You were in the classroom when this happened.
I was.
And Ms. Kovac was loudly talking to JT.
I could not hear what she was saying.
Did you, knowing that you'd gotten this information that your student might have a gun, did you go speak with him?
I did not. Ms. Kovac was with him.
Did you, Ms. Kovac was in your classroom? So you had coverage in your classroom? Because Ms. Kovac was in there and she had 20 to 30 years of experience, right?
Was that a question?
It was a question.
Could you repeat that, please?
Ms. Kovac was in your room when you found out that JT might have a weapon. You had coverage in your classroom. Did you go back to Dr. Parker and say, oh, there's been a change. Now there's a report that he might have a weapon?
At that time, no. Ms. Kovac was in my room investigating the situation. She was observing the student, sitting next to the student. And at that time, I'm trusting Ms. Kovac.
Did you remove JT from your classroom as you had done 2 days prior when you took him by the hand and took him out?
No.
Did you remove his backpack from the classroom?
No.
Did you search his backpack?
No.
Did you go back to the security officer in the lunchroom?
No.
And who had left a little bit after this time. Is that right, about 12 o'clock?
I don't know.
Instead, you proceeded to teach a lesson before recess. Is that right? And Ms. Kovac team taught that lesson with you.
I don't remember.
So Ms. Kovac has stated that she taught a lesson on Pocahontas with you. You don't remember that?
No.
And eventually Ms. Kovac left the room, correct?
Yes.
And did you say, don't leave, please stay?
She left to tell Dr. Parker that there was a potential of a gun on the student.
But you don't know what she said to Dr. Parker, do you, Ms. Werner?
I knew that she left to tell Dr. Parker what the students had told her.
But you don't know what Ms. Kovac told Dr. Parker?
Her specific words, no ma'am, I was not there with
You were
her.
not party to that conversation.
Correct, I was not.
And at some point, Ms. West left the playground.
Yes, right before we went inside.
And why did she leave the playground?
To my understanding, something with one of her students.
And did she ask you to shepherd her class and your class into the building?
Yes.
And how many students would that be?
Around 40, maybe.
Because Ms. West needed to go deal with another student discipline issue.
Yes.
Did you say to Ms. West, hey, I can't take your class in. I've got my own problems here. I've got an issue with a student who might have a weapon.
No, because at that time I knew that Amy had told administration, Dr. Parker. I honestly didn't think twice. It was my understanding that administration wouldn't think twice as well
Ms. Werner.
when alerted about a potential gun in school.
And the first time you saw JT with a gun, he was at his desk. Is that correct?
Yes.
The first time you saw a gun that day.
Yes.
And when you saw that, you were shocked.
Yes.
Because you didn't expect to see that, did you?
It was a real gun. Yes.
Is there a point where you didn't think he might have a real gun?
Well, the whole day I was contemplating it could be real, but it also could not. When you hear the word, he told students, he brought a gun with him to school. There is that possibility.
Ms. Werner, looking at the third paragraph, it says discipline is the initial responsibility of the teacher. Is that correct?
Yes,
Do you agree with that?
it says that.
And let's look at the next page. The boxed behaviors. You spoke about that with the jury a while ago. And Ms. Werner, student behaviors on the left is possession of a weapon. Do you see that?
Yes,
And the next steps are secure students and ensure safety. Did you do that when you got a report that JT might have a weapon?
I did not.
And the next step is 2, immediate notice to administrator. Did you yourself notify an administrator?
Amy Kovac did.
I'm asking.
I did not myself.
Did not.
What do you think? The tone is one thing. The words are something else. They're saying it's her fault that she got shot. Did they cross the line here? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, legal analyst Carmen Rowe, along with attorney Ali Benevento, and former sex crimes prosecutor for more than 3 decades, Stacey Hanowitz. Carmen, the tone is nice, but I'm not listening to the tone. I'm listening to the words. They are clearly and squarely blaming the teacher for getting shot. What are your thoughts?
I don't know, Vinny. I don't hear blame there. I hear duty of care and foreseeability, which are the issues before this jury. And I hear her accusing Dr. Parker of exactly what she didn't do in the room. But I also love it because pending a criminal case, I mean, look, they need to do a serious cross in this case, knowing that a criminal allegation is down the pike. And to your point, I'm not really sure why we're doing the civil case first, but I think it's great for lawyers looking down the road at that criminal allegation.
Allie, what's happening here? You think the jury's going to say, yeah, it's that teacher's fault that got shot?
No, I don't think that the jury is going to think that, but I also have to give, credence or credibility to the defense attorney for doing her job. She is cross-examining the teacher on the points to try to make the point that Carmen was talking about. Now, it does come across in a way that I think a lot of the jurors are probably going to have a problem with, because at the end of the day, people are going to look at this situation and think, what else was this woman supposed to do? First of all, she's an elementary school teacher. Yes, there was a complaint. She felt like she handled it appropriately. And so for them to then put all of the responsibility on her to have prevented the terrible thing that happened to her, I don't think is going to play well to the jury. But to the point of whether she is blaming her, no, I think the defense attorney is crossing her and is doing her job.
Stacey, what are you hearing here? Because obviously it's a shocking situation. You wouldn't expect it. What I'm hearing is we've got a very young, inexperienced teacher. There's a senior teacher who's in there. She's, in a sense, deferring to a certain extent and wondering, like, okay, this is something that, you know what, the boss should be handling.
Yeah, well, listen, I have to agree with both lawyers on the panel tonight. I mean, when you're sitting and you're listening to this, certainly the tone and the words lead the jury to sometimes think, you know what, she is trying to blame her for getting shot. The other side to that is that the defense does have to say, listen, you had a duty of care. You had rules and policies that you had to abide by, which you did not. The flip side to that is, listen, like you said, Vinny, I had a senior teacher, 20 to 30 years experience in there. She went to administration. Administration should have been alerted, and they should have been the ones to come into the classroom to investigate to see if, in fact, this child did have a gun. So I think it does go both ways, but I think, as Allie said, it comes across to the jurors that might not like this kind of tone and this blaming factor. You've got a horrific situation here where a teacher was shot by a first grader, and so now they have to really abide by, well, they have to anyway, abide by the law. What was the duty of care, and who was responsible for reporting it?
Now, let me play another little piece here, Carmen. This was very interesting. Maybe a little difficult to follow, at least it was for me. There were some cross-examination questions about Taylor Swift. Let's watch.
She said multiple witnesses parade in here and say that she has social anxiety and cannot even leave her home. This was produced by Ms. Zwerner. It's actually an Instagram post, and it's directly relevant to her ability to function in the community following this incident, which she's placed at issue here.
It's a private message I sent to Taylor Swift.
You gave that message on, or sent that message on September 13, 2023. And you let Ms. Swift know that you were the teacher from Rich Neck Elementary School who had been shot.
Yes.
And that you had been to the Eras Tour in Philadelphia. And that was in May 2023, correct? That you went to the Eras Tour concert in Philadelphia?
That seems around that time.
You told Ms. Swift that you were involved in a long court case from the shooting and asked her not to post the message.
Yes.
And you state that you're trying to keep your personal life out of the media. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, Carmen, what do you think? Is she exaggerating her damages? And that's what they're trying to bring out here? That, listen, you're claiming all this social anxiety, but you're sneaking around going to see Taylor Swift?
I mean, look, first of all, if anybody understands it's Taylor Swift, always reach out to her first. Second of all, I think they're trying to point out that she's attention seeking in this case, exaggerating as well as you say, and that even though this is a horrible situation, that she's going too far. And bringing in Taylor Swift, I mean, you can't get further out of, a normal small town situation than that.
Let's listen to her on direct here, talk about what was going through her mind and what it was like when you get shot.
And what is the last thing you remember that day at the school?
The last thing I remember at the school. Obvious, I thought I was dying. I thought I had died. I thought I was either on my way to heaven or in heaven, but then it all got black, and so I then thought I wasn't going there.
Allie, that's some tough testimony.
Powerful. I cannot imagine what she went through. And I think that that is a really powerful image. Those are powerful words and a powerful presentation for this jury to hear, especially when you have the defense attorney trying to say things like, you're not really that damaged. Nothing's really that wrong with you. You're okay enough to go to a Taylor Swift concert. But when you have that teacher sitting there facing the jurors and explaining what it feels like to be shot and to think that you are dying or that you are already dead, that has to really be impactful for those jurors, and that's the point.
All right, Think Tank's going to stick around. We've got some breaking news. Okay, on Thursday, October 30th, that's today, 2025, sheriff's detectives, along with the FBI, served follow-up search warrants at the home of Ashley and Melody Buzzard in the 500 block of Mars Avenue, as well as a storage locker and the rental car that Melody was last seen in anticipation of the need for access to the residence during the search for an extended time. Detectives escorted Ashley to an alternate location that would not interfere with their ability to conduct a thorough search. This case, according to the sheriff, remains a missing person investigation. There have been no arrests made in the case, but now we know that the intensity of the investigation has been turned up tonight. Why won't she speak? We'll have more on this tomorrow night, but right now, coming up, we've got the sentencing judgment day for that Irish firefighter inside the courtroom, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a devoted mother vanishes without a trace, a husband's story that doesn't add up, and a community demanding answers. Did love drive him to obsession, or is there more to the mystery of Maya Miliete? Tonight, we investigate.
I ended up asking him if he loved me. He said, I don't know. I said, do you love her? He said, I don't know.
That set you off?
Someone was stabbed?
Yes, she's on the floor.
I didn't have the intent to kill Sarah. I really just wanted to scare them.
It looks more like fury than fear. Did you kill Sarah to possess what she had with Josh?
Sorry.
Interview with a Killer. New episode Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
My rapist has never offered an apology or any indication of regret for what he did. It frightens me to think that someone could attack another person and never feel the need to apologize or show any sense of remorse.
That was the victim. We don't have to say accuser anymore. That's the victim of a horrific rape in a hotel up in Boston around the time of St. Patrick's Day. Her rapist, Terence Crosbie, an Irish firefighter who was in the United States and in Boston for the St. Paddy's Day celebration and parade. But instead of celebrating that way, he raped this woman. Today was Judgment Day, sentencing day. Let's take a listen to what the convicted rapist had to say.
Your Honor, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I understand the seriousness of the situation. I respect you, I respect this courtroom, I respect the jury, and I respect everybody involved in this process. I have the deepest respect for this court and the legal system. I recognise the weight of this court's responsibility, and I appreciate the time and attention the court has given my case. I've dedicated over 18 years of my life selflessly serving the people and the citizens of Dublin, and I hope to contribute to society again someday. I ask that the court take into account the large number of character references that have been submitted by my family, work colleagues, and people from both sides of the world, including the cities of Dublin, Boston, and further afield. Also, please consider the impact on my family, including my wonderful wife and my two beautiful young daughters, who not only wait at home in a different country for me, but also rely on me as the single sole main provider of our family and our family home. I ask that you please take these things into consideration, Your Honour, and I thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you.
I don't know what he was thinking. I don't understand why you would do that. You've got this great family in Ireland. You come to the United States to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And I get it, people drink. But give me a break. Give me a break. All right, let's take a listen to the judge who handed down the sentence.
In this case, the victim was safely asleep under the covers in a locked hotel room. The defendant attacked a woman who was asleep, defenseless. Mr. Crosbie committed a predatory sexual act. It is an act of extraordinary sexual violence. The victim resisted, and Mr. Crosbie persisted. Mr. Crosbie prolonged the violence, the fear, the trauma as he continued to assault and batter the victim as she tried to escape the sexual assault. This level and length of violence is an aggravating factor. The Commonwealth's recommendation of 9 to 12 years is a reasonable recommendation, considering the violence, the trauma he inflicted. I also consider as a mitigating factor Mr. Crosbie's work in his community, both with his family and as a firefighter first responder, paramedic. I have a great deal of respect for the work that people in those public service jobs do, and I do consider that a mitigating factor, what he had contributed to his community through his work and family life. When I put together all of the factors, including the aggravating and the mitigating that I mentioned, the sentence is going to be not less than 7 years, not more than 9 years in the Massachusetts State Prison.
Okay. Carmen Rowe, Ali Benevento, Stacey Hanowitz still with us. Stacey, was justice served today up in Boston?
I absolutely think it was, and I got to tell you something. He was a lot more respectful to the court than, Donna Adelson was. He didn't accuse the court of being biased against him. He basically, the judge, reiterated exactly what the prosecution said. This was a violent assault by a person who was sleeping. It was ongoing, and he let those factors into the sentence. On the flip side to that, he did take into consideration, as he said, that, we're not looking at any prior convictions, which is extremely important, and also the fact that he's a first responder and certainly has given back to the community. So I do feel as though this was a fair sentence, and I know that this case has really caused a lot of controversy. I've read the Vinnie Politan personal group on Facebook where people don't believe he should have ever been convicted. In this case, I think justice was served. I think the jury was correct. They got it right the second time around. I think she was credible, and I think the prosecution was able to bring out the holes in his story that led to the conviction in this case.
Agree, disagree? Carmen?
I personally think, I'm sorry. I personally think he got off light. I mean, look, if you believe everything that happened in this trial was true, and then you hear what this judge says about how violent this rape was, no, 7 to 9 years is light for someone like him. And the fact that he doesn't have a prior criminal history, I don't even know if that's true. He's from Ireland. I mean, we're here in the States. A lot goes on in other countries, and a lot of things are tolerated in other areas that wouldn't be tolerated here. If it really is the violent rape that this judge suggested it was after listening to 2 trials, I think 7 to 9 was a gift, and everyone should say thank you. As far as whether or not there was sufficient evidence in this case. I've seen court TV. I've seen all the commentators on this case. And the truth is that there's more evidence than there is in most cases like this, where there's just a he said, she said. There's actual physical evidence. There's a defendant who lied. There's plenty to work with here. And again, I think what the judge said in the room tells me a lot about what the value of this case was. And in Texas, it would be higher than 9 years.
Carmen, you would have been able to find out.
I was thinking the same thing, Carmen, here in South Carolina.
Go ahead, Ali.
No, I was just saying here in South Carolina, I think the sentence under these circumstances, now that he's been found guilty of the jury, if a judge here had heard those same circumstances and accepted them, as the jury said, these are the facts, then that sentence would have been much, much higher. I do think, however, that the judge did a good job in explaining the basis for the sentence and setting out the mitigating and the aggravating factors. I don't know what a typical sentence for this type of offense in Massachusetts is, but I'm with Carmen. Texas, South Carolina, he would have gotten a whole heck of a lot more time under these circumstances.
The prosecution that was the guidelines that the prosecution laid. I mean, listen, I prosecuted all these cases for 30 years. I'm not saying that he got, a stiff sentence in this case, but the prosecution and what they were asking for, the judge went within the prosecution's asking. And the fact of the matter is, if he had prior convictions, if he had violence in his past, the prosecution certainly would have been able to find out. I've tried cases, and we know that prosecutors are able to get that information. So if he had a violent history, you can best believe that the prosecutors, after a second trial and how the ongoing length of this case, would have been able to find out what was going on in his past. And he probably, if he had a violent history, wouldn't have been able to be a first responder like he was. So, in looking at this case, we can all say he should have gotten 50 years. This is within what the prosecution was asking for based on the facts of this case.
You know, the part that
I'm not saying he should have gotten 50 years or more. I just was surprised how little he got, considering the statement that the judge made on the record at sentencing. That's all. Wasn't necessarily disputing the sentence. I understand that was the guideline. Those were the guidelines.
Yeah, so he comes in at 7 to 9.
What can you do?
Yeah, he comes in at 7 to 9. They ask for 9 to 12, so it's within the guideline. One final question, and I'm trying to I don't understand why with this, right? Like, how do we get inside this guy's mind and try to figure out why he would engage in behavior like this? To me, it makes zero sense. It's a guy, he's got the family. I get it. He's on the road, whatever. He was trying to get lucky. He didn't get lucky. How does that turn into rape, forcible rape? I don't get it, Stacey.
I do. I mean, it's a crime of opportunity, and there's plenty of times when this goes on. He knew that this girl had gone back with his roommate, and he probably thought if she's consensually having sex with him, then I can get in on the action too. And so it's not that unusual. It's terrible and it's horrible that someone would do something like this, but I've seen a lot of cases like this where he basically thought, I'm away, I've had a couple of drinks, she's gone back to the room. She obviously wants to have sex with my roommate, and so she probably would have sex with me too. And she didn't. She didn't do it consensually. And I think that's what people were trying to figure out. And I think that was the holdup. People were thinking to themselves, well, listen, she just met this guy. She went back to the room with him. You know, she's easy. I hate to say it, but that's the reality of it. And this guy, what does she have to win by having the world know that she had consensual one-night stand, right, and then all of a sudden
that makes no sense.
Raped her, and I think that's what the jury was listening to.
All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, Donna Adelson, brand new video. This is her just before getting her life sentence.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself.
What a moment, what a reaction. I guess she didn't expect to be convicted, right? We've all come to that conclusion based upon this. She thought she could, get one over on the jury. Didn't happen. Let me tell you what I have for you tonight now. The video of her, Donna Adelson, being transported to her sentencing. And for me, sentencing is judgment day. That's when the judgment becomes final against you, number one. But number two, it's the day when you find out what the rest of your life is going to kind of be like. There wasn't a lot of discretion for the judge, but still, let's take a look at that video.
All right, let me hit the paperwork so you don't take your time climbing in there. Use that bumper as a step. I got you.
Put your head down.
Watch your head and just sit right there on the end and get your seatbelt on. See if you can put that to the short side. Long side, this is the long, got to go to the short. A little short one that you got to put this on. Got it?
Yeah.
Got the click. There's your paperwork.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Representative.
See her mumbling to herself. Think Tank with us, Carmen Rowe, Ali Benevento, Stacey Honowitz. Ali, why do I hate this woman so much?
Well, Whitney, I don't know that I can answer that question, but she certainly has not been likable throughout this process in any way. But why do you not like her? I don't know. Tell us, why do you not like her so much?
I don't know. There's something about, like, I've covered, hundreds of cases, hundreds of murderers. Some of them really get under my skin, and this is one of them. This is one of them. Carmen, what? Is it the arrogance, maybe? Is it the ruining of two young boys' lives and taking a father away for such stupid, petty, selfish reasons?
You know, Vinny, I understand why you hate her. I think everyone in America hates her for the same reason. She's arrogant, she's narcissistic, she's selfish enough to believe that she can rope all these people into this crazy space, and that, you know, two of them are sitting in prison because of her, and now she's crying us a river because she has to go to prison. But on the other hand, I think that it's interesting to watch this video because I kind of feel sorry for her all of a sudden.
What?
I mean, look, the reason this case is fun is because it's a mother who's willing to do anything for her family. And I see her as that mother in this video more than I see her as the narcissist all of a sudden. I know.
I see her as delusional.
Ooh, get her, Vinny.
I see her as delusional. She's almost chipper and like in a mood. I'm on my way to my sentencing. It's almost like she thinks to herself, I'm going to kind of talk my way out of a life sentence. And when we saw her in the sentencing, you want to talk about arrogant, this is someone who really thought that she could tell the court that they were wrong, and to also try to explain to the world how much she truly liked Dan Markel, where we had heard all of those horrific emails where she called him every name in the book. So I think that's why you hate, because I think you know the evil that she really possesses, and we could see it throughout this trial that it just never let up, even at the time that she was sentenced.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it is, right, like, she had everything she needed. Everything was going to be fine. She was going to be able to, you know, okay, Dan's got the job up in Tallahassee. Maybe someday they move a little closer, but they're all in Florida. They have money. They can travel. They can see him. It was so unnecessary and just destroyed so many lives, most of all the two boys. I mean, there's no way that things are going to be okay for them. You mentioned this. Let's take a look at Donna Adelson. Now we saw the trip. Let's remind folks what she said during her sentencing.
If I had become aware of this plan before Danny was murdered, I would have stopped it.
Mrs. Adelson, you certainly can continue. However, the court can take into consideration the utter lack of remorse that you are displaying. Please proceed if you desire to do so.
I promise you with my whole heart, I swear to you on my life, I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. I think I figured it. You know, I think it's a combination of thinking they were smarter than everyone, but her particularly thought that, you know, we can just figure this out. You know, we're different people. We're smarter. We'll figure it out. And people owe me. And she controlled everyone's lives. Like there's another child. She has another child who married someone who wasn't Jewish, or had a girlfriend who wasn't Jewish, and they like wanted nothing to do with them. I mean, he's the smart one. He got away from his family because he realized these people have completely lost their minds. But it's all of that. You know, to me, the real, and I'm on a rant here, but the real thing is, like, she hated Dan Markel because he was too Jewish, and then she hated her other son's girlfriend who became his wife because she wasn't Jewish. It's like you've got to be just the right amount of Jewish for her. Like, what is that? Like, what is that? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to trying to control everything.
Yeah, I think it's the lack of control. When she feels like she doesn't have the ability to pull the strings and call the shots, she starts spinning out of control. It's why she behaves the way that she behaves in court. And now she expects everybody to believe that, oh my God, had I known about the murder plot, I would have stopped it. I would have done everything that I could to stop it. She's still trying to manipulate the situation and control the players. She hasn't changed. I'll give her that she's consistent, because she has been consistently manipulative throughout.
Yeah, Carmen, do you think it was love for her children or wanting 100%. To control her children? Like wanting to, you know, all right, this is exactly what's going to happen here.
You know, Vinny, there's a lot of parents where I can't tell the difference. It might be the same thing. I don't know. But I do think that it's a situation where, again, because she's the matriarch, because she's the mother, and she had this much control, she took care of everyone, that this was possible. But, you know, when I watch these things, maybe the reason you hate her so much, which I do for this reason, I have clients like this. They won't listen to anything. They want to convince me, manipulate me, which is like, okay, the judge, the prosecutor, no one will listen. And then the jury, and you finally get to this place where even at sentencing, they continue to double down and they never, in my mind, get there. And I think she's one of those people who thinks she's going to fight it out in the appellate courts, and maybe she does, but I don't know if she gets there.
Yeah. Stacey, so many defendants.
And she married somebody with probably her. I think she married someone with her exact personality. You know, I think she was able to control him. But once again, at the sentencing, you saw him doubling down, telling the court that they were biased and how it wasn't a fair trial. So I think the two of them together are masterminds, and I think they probably have the same personality.
Yeah, and again, they're trying to argue the fact, like, these two hitmen had no connection to Dan Markel. Like, there was no connection. Like, it was just obvious. You just lay it out here. It was so obvious once you put the pieces together. You know, and it was really telling that two friends of Dan Markel who were spoken to by police said, oh, you need to look at the Adelsons. I mean, they probably hired someone to do this. Like, they solved the case in 5 minutes because they knew what Donna Adelson was like through the divorce. All right, big thank you. Carmen Rowe, Ali Benevento, Stacey Hano. It's always great to have you here on these Thursdays. All right, when we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, her family searched the beaches, the canyons, the deserts, but one question still haunts them all. What really happened to Maya Millete, and will she ever be found? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
6-year-old shot his teacher.
Their side battling that it is part of the job, just outrageous.
The first grader shoots teacher civil trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Undercover cop. Oh boy. Officer Matthew Jackson appearing in virtual court. I guess he was home. He's got the uniform up top, but not so much down below. Let's take a listen.
Officer Jackson, good morning to you. Can you put your appearance on the record, please?
Yes, Officer Jackson, badge number 3919, out of the 12th precinct.
All right.
You got to ask the camera, Judge.
You got some pants on, officer?
Sir, they're in the... No, sir.
Neither do I. All right. He's an officer. Oh, my goodness. Take a listen to the defense attorney.
I was trying to figure it out. Like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Especially with a police officer.
Take a look. Here's the dress code when you appear. You're supposed to have casual business attire. Prohibited attire are shorts. So, I don't know. Undercover. Take a look, folks. We have a child that needs your help tonight. This is Myshian Trinidad Davis, just 17 years old, missing from St. Joseph, Michigan. Pick up the phone, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the St. Joseph Police Department in Michigan. That number's on our screen right now. Let's see if we get Myshian to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.